Hi, it's Eva again. I wake up ambitious people like you and dare them to be great. And today we're going to talk to agency expert Thomas Joos. Thomas helps agency founders to build an irresistible agency and make money while doing so. Also quite important. So really looking forward today. We're going to talk about three main things. First of all, how can you spot whether your agency is already playing at full potential? Secondly, what are then things you can do to activate that agency even more? And finally, the juicy part all the way at the end, Thomas is going to share a little bit about his personal journey in his career and how he further activated his potential as a professional, an expert agency driver, and just him as he is. So welcome.
Thank you, Eva. Happy to be here.
Yes, we're already looking forward to our conversation.
Let's go.
Yes, let's go. So typically the people that I interview, they want to make an impact. They really have a purpose in this life. And you're also one of these people. So what impact do you want to create in this world? Like, what's your why?
Oh, good question. I've had a few already. I think one of the first professional missions that I've been involved in was making the internet a bit more beautiful and a bit more user friendly. So my first cell phone was a Nokia.
Yeah.
And we just could send texts and call people. That's it. And at some point, the smartphone concept came up, and we had this computer in our pockets with a big screen, and we could upload 8 gigabytes of music on that little computer.
Yeah.
And the interface was really shitty. And the internet came up, and everybody was building websites, and the websites weren't that beautiful, weren't that pretty. And yeah, long story short, I've been in the digital creative industry for about 10 years.
Okay.
On a mission to make things more beautiful, more practical, more user-friendly, and websites. First few years, that was just information about a product or a company.
Yeah.
And then it became a functional revolution of products doing all kind of things, from early mobile banking apps to streaming platforms to whatever. So the functional rise of digital platforms, was also a rise of let's try and make it more beautiful and more user friendly, because then it's easier to earn money.
Yeah.
Or to keep people happy. So that was a sweet spot between my mission and a bit of business relevance. And then at some point I was onto something new. And I've learned, while helping those companies build that kind of products, I've learned what it takes to build an agency, to build a service business around a certain passion. And it, like many other people who kickstart a service business, coaching, freelancing, agencies, anybody actually who's at someone's service, most people end up in that entrepreneurial journey because they want to help people, and they are very eager to do what they're doing. They love what they do.
Yeah.
And none of those people, myself included, have learned how to make a business out of it. How do you create an offering? How do you sell an offering? How do you package it? How do you organize it? How do you make money? How do you hire people, fire people, all that kind of stuff. So, my mission today is actually about that kind of topic, and more specifically, speeding up the maturity curve or the learning curve of expert people helping others, building a service business, learning how to build a business is often steep learning curve, lonely. Everybody's making the same mistakes. Everybody's asking the same questions. And by default, it's difficult to speed up that learning curve fast. And that's what I try to tackle. And that's what's driving me today.
All right. Yeah, it's quite a pivot as well. I mean, it's not a pivot because you were already building a business yourself, though the vision itself or the impact that you're trying to create, or you are already creating today, that's quite different.
Yeah. And for me, it doesn't really feel that much of a pivot because it's an intrinsic motivation. People have always described me as a people person.
Okay.
Motivating people, coaching people, trying to get the most out of the team, etc. And which is a pretty important asset of building a service business, building a team, and to activate the potential of the team, you need to know, how do we work together, collaborate? What kind of customers do we really want to serve? One of the most popular energy drains of creative people in a service business is working for boring customers.
Yeah.
So I've been in this journey of learning how to build a business around expertise, around a service business model. And it was always a big part of my journey, actually. And now I'm helping others speed up their journey, which is for me not that huge pivot, or it's actually something I was already doing, coaching people internally, learning myself, etc. But I think the impact now is more on seeing people grow, having more of a structure to work from, and if you're building a digital product, you're literally focused on deliverables and on what it does and how it performs. And then the people who pay you to help them are happy with literally the deliverable. Now I'm in a coaching business. People want to learn, want to apply things, see the positive effect, and you see them operate more efficiently, more effectively, which leads to a lot of emotional value as well.
Yes.
And that's the big difference compared to my previous mission or my previous kind of impact that was really functional in the relationship with the customers.
Yeah.
Now it's really both functional and emotional, and that's something I enjoy.
Oh wow! I mean, and then how do you do that? Like, what does it look like that guiding these agency founders to have those better results? And
good question. So my ideal customer profile, to use a bit of management lingo, is someone who's trying to build a service business for the first time.
Okay.
So they have learned skills at school and they just got started on building a business, and they're really young and naive.
Okay.
Some have been working in companies for years and have developed a vision to do things differently and in a way better. And they decide to go their own way. But often it's first-time founders. And I think what I've learned the last few years to speed up the learning curve and and help them professionalize the business. They need to understand how the business model works. So one of the key things that took me years to figure out is how exactly does a service business work? What are the elements of the business model? How does it grow? In what growth phases can we structure the story? What are key things to look out for? What can you speed up in which growth phase, etc. And what's happening really? Most people have no clue.
No, and I can imagine it's also, there's so many different phases that there's not a one size fits all, but like, okay, in this phase, this is...
That's true, but most have never been in a service business. Most are not able to speak with someone who has been in many or has seen many. The entire coaching and business education industry isn't focused on service businesses because they're not scalable. It's a small area. The education world is often focused on scalable business models, product, tech, or corporates business, because that's where a lot of people are employed and a lot of middle management is required to do some courses, etc. So this target group that I'm helping is actually a bit neglected, which makes it difficult for them to find info on how does it work in my type of business. That's one thing. Then most of them are very hands-on and pragmatic. They want to do stuff. They're not the academic kind of people that want to think and resonate and keep thinking and thinking and thinking and talking, and they just want to do stuff.
Yes.
So a big part of my job is not only explaining how the model works, but also provide tools, literally exercises, things they can do, step-by-step guiding, do this, calculate this, then do this. I see myself as a teacher. That's at that level, actually. I show them how to create an offering. Here are the 7 ways. Here are the formats. Apply them all just for the exercise. And then we're going to talk about deciding which ones we're going to take, etc. So in everything I do, I try to be as pragmatic as possible and literally give people building blocks and tools they can apply, which is a bit difficult because this is an abstract kind of thing we're talking about. Nobody can touch or hold a business.
No.
It's something conceptual that lives in our mind. So I try to make it visual and tangible as much as possible, using simple schemes, simple visualizations, simple presentations, and step-by-step guides to do stuff. A lot of examples. Yeah,
examples are always...
So for instance, let's say a popular topic is pricing. So first you need to know how you can literally... what kind of services can you actually offer? Most people have no clue what types of services are there.
Yeah.
So I summarize this for them. Yeah, there are types of services. It's more coaching or productional or whatever. And examples. This company, this is that kind of company. This is how they package and communicate about the service. But first we need to decide what kind of service do you want to offer? Okay. Then how can you package it? What's the deliverable? What do you get? What do you buy?
Yeah.
Examples, visuals, etc. So I create a lot of guidebooks, visual inspiration. And then an exercise like, okay, if you would use your expertise to sell it like an audit, if you would perform an audit, what would you evaluate, for instance? Or if you would produce something, what would the key deliverable be? Explain it, show it. And that's how we get started. So I explain, and then I say, now you're going to do some work. And that's what they like. So I think that's in a nutshell, the best way to help them speed up, because they have to do it themselves. They have to learn it by themselves. I'm not there to do it for them.
Yeah.
And I enjoy working that way.
All right. So here there's a teaching component, there's a challenging component, there's probably also a mentor component where when they then come up with their exercise that you can also mentor them in the outcome. So there's really different components to how you...
Yeah, the mentorship is a bit of a fluent, always on kind of interaction. So I give feedback. I help them to look forward. Like, okay, if I would do this, then what will happen? How will my customer respond? For instance, how will my team respond? What are the ups and downs of this decision? And they bump into many, many situations that are always the first time for them.
Voilà. Yeah, because it's the first time founders. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have someone to interact with, like, okay, what's happening here really? What are my options? How do I look at this? What's the angle? And this is where I try to be a partner as well. Like I often have conversations where I say, if I would have shares in this company, if I would be your partner, with everything I know today, this is how I would think, this is how I would respond, and this is a reaction that would be very interesting to me, or this is a reaction or a setup that would be really like, we're having a big problem here.
Okay. So you really consider yourself virtually kind of part of the team when you step into that role as a teacher, a challenger, a mentor.
It's a bit of a role-playing game because I'm not really or not actually their partner, but I love to play the role of the ambitious shareholder.
Yes.
And I explain why I would say things if I was a shareholder, knowing what I know now, which makes them understand more concretely specific strategic opinions or look, I've seen this many times, so this is why I don't want to do this, or this is where I would say stop wasting my money.
No, indeed,
that kind of stuff.
It gives a different perspective as well. If you ask someone to act as knowledgeable shareholder for your company, because it's a point of view you typically don't take yourself. So it's a nice.
No. And as a first-time founder or a duo, many people work in duo, and then they hire me as a coach. They don't have that kind of interaction with others or between themselves. So it's a fresh perspective also. Another role-playing game I like to do is, if I would be your sales assistant, this is how this is what I would sell, or this is how I would say it, or this is what I would do if a customer says this. How would you feel about my reaction? Is this the proper reaction? Or I would think that it's the proper reaction because earlier you said that this was important for the company. So I try to be the salesperson sometimes as well. Like, if this is how we would sell it and how we would deal with the customers, are we on track?
Yeah. Okay, good. And what do you, which challenges arise most often? Like which aspects do you most often need to create awareness around, or start teaching or mentor or challenge them in?
Yeah, so one of the most crucial fundamentals of a service business is customers and the type of projects that they order or hire your agency to work on. And of course, customers is a pretty important thing for every kind of company. If you're in a service business, the type of customer, what are they asking us to do? Are they open for interaction conceptually? Like, do they want our opinion, or do they just want us to shut up and do stuff? Do they want to be involved? Yes or no? So managing customer expectations from promoting your services and generating awareness to delivering the actual service, is really super crucial. And most founders struggle with attracting the right type of customer. Like, okay, they just say yes to everything. They fill up the planning. They get started. They say yes, we can. Do almost everything. Okay. And then they learn, just like in life with relationships, some work well, some don't. Like, okay, when are we really inspired, motivated, engaged to deliver a service? When are our customers really happy, appreciative, also experiencing real actual value in speed, efficiency, more revenue, whatever it is the customer wants? When are we actually achieving those kind of results? Figuring that out, that's all positioning. That's all, okay, what kind of partner do we want to be for what kind of customer? What's the problem, the challenge, the context? What's the desired situation or outcome? How are we going to help them get there or bridge the gap? Figuring that out and articulating that very clearly is one of the key challenges of everybody who's in the service business. And it's really difficult to figure out how to create that narrative, to zoom out and see clearly what's happening really. That's a big part of my job is helping people figure out and talk about what's really happening in a preferred collaboration, so they can market it, they can promote it, but also organize it way better, way more proactively, talking with team members and colleagues. Like, this is actually what we're trying to do here. So this is why we're going to set it up like this and this and most people don't have a really crystal clear vision on that. And that's one of the key barriers for growing a service business, I think.
And would you then, because in the beginning, sometimes it is still looking, would you recommend them to say no more often from the beginning, or to just service many different people that are more aligned to what they believe in their niche, and then do that exercise afterwards from what they experience?
So I think it's best to have at least a phase or a period where you just do stuff, follow your gut feeling, learn, experiment. and then reflect from there on, like, okay, what's happening here? When are we doing a good job, and why is this? What is not going as expected, or what are the highs and lows? What are the bummers and the celebrations along the way?
Yeah.
And at some point you can zoom out a little bit and reflect on that and say, okay, if we avoid certain types of customers or certain types of questions or challenges, then it's a good idea to say no more often.
Yeah.
And then the challenge is to say a lot more yes at the right time, and generate, in this case, enough qualified interest. So this is where the positioning again comes into play. If you're able to generate interests from people who fit your ideal customer profile, you can say yes when you really want to. Yeah. And you have the luxury to say no.
Indeed.
You don't need to. And that's, of course, a big growth pain to tackle. Because people building a service business, they see the cost structure is really simple. A few operating costs on infrastructure and logistics, etc. But 70-75% is wages. Yeah. Every month, the same amount. Probably a lot in Belgium. But the revenue is more up and down, and you need enough revenue to be profitable. You need structural revenue, so it's scary to say no.
Indeed, it's a bit the chicken or the egg as well sometimes, where you need that income, but if you say yes to what's not right for you, you don't have the time to then maybe go and prospect or work on positioning even more. So
and that's often it's the fate of service entrepreneurs to either stress about the money or avoid bore out.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a pretty interesting cocktail to tackle.
Yeah. And what do you see there in the types of characteristics or the types of people that you are coaching? Like who does what, or how to deal with that?
Yeah, I have a few personas actually. So one of them is the Lovebirds. So they're always in love with their customer, like, whoa, what a brand, and they're building this awesome product, and we have the privilege and the honor to help them achieve remarkable results. Oh, and we're happy to offer whatever service, branding, web development, video production, whatever. They're so happy serving those customers, and they're really in love with them. And then they're always bragging about how awesome the customer is, and they forget to brag about themselves.
Okay. Yeah. So they actually put themselves below the customer.
Maybe I wouldn't say below, but they're just so focused on, wow, what an awesome brand, and how cool, and we're so grateful, and so
we want to do anything to just make them happy, and to
and they really enjoy creating a portfolio of brands that they're inspired by, etc. And those are the people that I have to teach. Okay, that it's really great, but you don't need to promote the product of your customer. You need to promote your own service. So be a little bit more in love with yourself as well. It's probably a good idea.
Cheers to that. Be a bit more in love with yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes it works. Another profile or persona is what I call the teacher. Yeah. So they have experience or expertise. They have learned specific things, and they are explaining how things actually work, how it should work, what you can do to improve or do things more efficiently, more cleverly, more effectively, whatever. And those are the ones that they talk about workflows, tools, strategies, the best way to reach destination XYZ. And they're always explaining and teaching, which is a pretty big asset, if you ask me, to convince people to hire you. Because if you can literally explain what's happening and how it should happen and what you need to do to make it happen, sounds good. Sounds good, right? But often those are the ones who are are so deep into the expertise that it's just really difficult to follow them. It's too technical or they're talking to their peers. Like most are not aware of the fact that everything that they're saying is in some way related to their peers, to other experts, and they're trying to create a story that is validated by other experts, but the customer is not the expert.
Yeah.
The customer doesn't know that much, so they need to learn to zoom out a little bit, because if you're only sharing stories that attract experts like yourself, then it becomes difficult to grow a service business because you need customers and not just experts like yourself. Those are the people that have less difficulties with hiring.
Okay.
Because the experts are attracted to, oh, this is where I can learn. This is where I will be challenged. So that's great. And then another one is
the teacher, whereas the Lovebirds are very much all about the customer and what the customer wants to achieve. The teacher is more about what they have to offer and what they can help you achieve from a technical point of view rather than from the need behind the need. They're the ones selling the machines, but not the painting on the wall to hang.
Yeah, exactly.
Picture.
And the teachers are all about what's the best way to do something and why is this, etc. Another one is someone who's I call it the strategist. So those are people who really enjoy analyzing situations and trying to reinvent them for the sake of it. Yeah,
they love strategic thinking.
So they haven't figured out what the best way is yet. But the business is all about, or their drive is all about figuring things out.
Yeah.
So those are the ones who are really challenged by complex problems, really difficult challenges, things that you just cannot look it up on Google or ChatGPT. They always have the feeling nobody has done this before. So often those are the innovators, the people who really push beyond limits and just dive in, having no clue where they'll end up. And that's exactly what they want. And this is a pretty, if you're capable of dealing with that kind of situation, that makes you often very relevant because not many people are able to figure things out. Most people have figured it out and then apply it again and again and again.
Yeah.
But often in services or in consultancy in general, you're hired to figure it out, or it's interesting to hire someone who can help you figure out what to do. The difficult thing about this is it's really chaos, working literally by default in the unknown. And there's no clear end goal. So you can talk about complex problems, but if you're not able to offer specific tailor-made solutions or validated solutions or proven methods for it, it's a bit scary to dive in, both for customers or for people, because how can you promise that you'll actually deliver?
And I think there's also a lot of waste for the company there, since if you're always hungry for the next complex question to solve, you probably don't capitalize on the effort you have put in the previous complex question that you solved, for which you can actually maybe provide solutions for more people in the market that also had that problem, which is probably quite a lot. But it's more acting from this hunger for knowledge than building a business.
Yeah, so those are the people that don't like setting up standard ways of doing things or recycling conclusions or best practices. They always want to go, start a new exercise, let's figure this out. And once they've figured it out, it's done in their mind. Like, okay, we have figured it out. On to the next.
Yes.
So what you're describing is exactly what might happen. Also, they're focused on the cases, on the knowledge, on and less on structure, but also less on finance, making profits. Happy to do the job, which is actually for many service entrepreneurs the case. Like also for the Lovebirds and the teachers. I haven't met any agency founder, for instance, who's just in it because they love making money.
No, then they would choose a product or
they love helping people.
They love helping people.
And they need to learn how to do it in a profitable way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so these strategists, why would they want to build an agency in the first place?
Interesting question. I think for not only strategists, but in general, I see a few things like everybody who starts a service business in some way really loves to help people. It's their character. It's been there, and it will always be there. So if you have an urge, an ambition to help people, those are the people that end up helping out. In many places and on many occasions, like for friends, family as well, whatever. Once they learn some skills or have something to offer that is from a professional point of view, like, hey, you can make websites. Hey, maybe you can make my website. So it automatically attracts people because if they know you're there to help and you can do something interesting, they many just receive literally the question like, "Can you do this for me?" Oh yeah, no, and then oh yeah, I can do this, and then starting up isn't that hard. Like you need a VAT number or a BTW number in Dutch and a computer often, and you're good to go. Some have been working within other agencies first, or have been in the consultancy or freelance business, and they want more, or they want to do something on their own terms. So there's this entrepreneurial ambition as well. Like I want to help other people, but why not from my own company? Instead of being one of the many in somewhere else, and not being able to do things really the way I see them. So that's often a trigger as well. Being able to work from your own terms or point of view.
Yes.
And having ambition to build something that is a bit larger than yourself. Like most start a service business because if they can build a team, they can do more interesting projects, have more impact together. Alone, you can often do just so little, right? So the things they want to do is often literally teamwork. Yeah. And building a team is sounds exciting for those people.
And comes with its challenges.
as everything, I guess, yes, but definitely.
At what point in time do you recommend, because from my coaching perspective, what I always try to look at is, okay, to what extent can you make sure that you, first of all, really understand your way of your manual, your own personal way of working? And can you make sure that the environment in which you work and the type of things that you work on, that they're really the ones where you are using your potential the most, and try to look for solutions, options, other people to take on the things that really drain your energy or are not at all what your strength is. So when do you advise people to bring others in, or to not focus on things that don't give them energy at all, or where their strengths are not at all to be found? Because if you're a chaotic brain and you're not getting energy from that organizational structure, is it really of benefit that you are then gonna spend all your time on it and maybe become really unhappy and not using your own potential?
Yeah. So I don't think there's one specific time when you should start asking yourself those questions. So my vision and way of work here is that I always try to dive in a situation, whether it's a founding team with 5 employees or they already have 20, doesn't really matter where they are exactly in their journey. When I hop on, I always try to look for, a sweet spot of 3 things. So what do you guys enjoy doing most? And not only guys, of course, the team in there. So what's this all about actually? What the passion, what makes your heart beat faster, that kind of stuff. Second,
individually then as a group?
Because I think as a team, and often it's of course ignited by the founders, and people join because they love it too.
So that's more holistically on, what's the purpose? What's the driver of being part of this group?
Yeah, and sometimes it's really simple. Like, they love to make specific types of movies, or videos, or they love. But what is it that you love doing and why, and that kind of stuff. Second, who's interested in those kind of skills and why? Is there a market? Is there enough people or enough companies willing to hire you for that specific skill or passion, and why? If nobody wants to produce videos or use the potential video might have, then you can love what you're doing all what you want. So you need to have some sort of market validation. And the third one is, are there people that you can collaborate with? Because you don't want to do it on your own. So are there enough other people interested in growing along? And how specifically, for instance, my company, my agency, we wanted to create a lot of iPhone and iPad apps, but at that moment, nobody was skilled and trained to develop an app. So when we were hiring people, we needed to educate them. They've learned how to build websites and other technologies, but most didn't learn how to code iPhone apps, for instance. So on that level, it was a limitation for us. Like, we had to invest a lot in educating people, and we were aware of it, but we weren't aware of how big that barrier was for us to get up to speed more structurally, because everybody had a huge technical learning curve. And you don't need to tick all the 3 boxes, but if maybe 2 out of 3 are already shaping up properly, you can cover one. But if you have a lot of passion, but there's no market and there are no people who can hop on easily, it's difficult. But what happens here is growth always comes from people doing things what they love and they are good at it. And my perspective here is, let's focus first on what is it that you love to do, who's interested and why, and how can we set up a few next steps from what you're already doing that you'll enjoy. Can we do it more effectively? Can we do it more efficiently? And are things up and running there before diving into all the problems, all the growth pains, whatever. So first, I always do a scan of, look, this is where you are right now. This is what you love doing. This is what goes well. Let's keep focusing on that and optimize it. And is there a turning point or a very important thing, like, okay, we need to improve other things, but we don't really like it. And this is where the discussion already comes in. Like, do we need to do it ourselves? Yeah. Are we going to hire other people? And this is mostly first, everybody tries to do it themselves. Then they learn, this takes a lot of energy. I really don't like it. Yeah. Often it's also personal. Like, I feel obliged to do it myself because I'm the founder. And some go through this very smoothly, like, no, let's do it differently. And for some, it takes years. Okay. And I have no impact on speeding up that kind of journey or growth curve. I just hop on and try to help. Yeah. And if I see that they are struggling, then I open up the discussion, like, okay, what's the smartest way? Let's try and do or set this company up that everybody's working from their talents, etc. Also the founder.
Yeah.
And for some it goes easy. For some it's more difficult, and the more difficult it becomes for them, the more personal and psychological it actually becomes. And then I always say, look, I work on the business with you, but if you have questions or classic things, perfectionism, feeling obliged to do everything themselves. I try to get them to a point that they understand that it might be limiting for them
that
to
it's harming,
operate.
it's harming the business.
And if they're open for it, I introduce them to you so they can work on themselves first. Some just open up more quickly. And that's fine too. But most of the time, it first has to hurt a little bit.
Classic.
Yeah. And I think this is it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
But first it hurts, and then they try a little bit harder, and then it hurts more, and then then the shift comes in. And for some it's within 3 months, and for some it's 3 years.
Yeah. The ones where it's 3 years, how do you notice that it's there? Like, what is it in their body language, or what do you hear them say, or like, what are typical cues that sell them and that okay, you're actually really doing that perfectionism or taking everything on your own?
So if I see people struggling a little bit, taking up challenges that might not suit them, or accepting it's not ideal, but let's continue and do our best a little bit more, and then it will, the problem will be solved. Most of the times it's not a solution, but okay. There are people who are, I call them, they want to be the savior. They want to save people, and that's a bit of the, I think, in a way, some sort of self-sabotage kind of thing. Like, they actually enjoy putting out the fires and saving things and being able to get there on time, even though things aren't going smoothly, and that gives them some sense of relevance and I'm useful here, and they never say it out loud, but somewhere deep within themselves they feel it, that they actually enjoy the chaos a little bit. And so that's one angle. If I see that they actually enjoy it, it takes longer to step away from that kind of point of view.
It's the need to be important, and then that importance it's linked to being busy and being the hero. And
actually they love being busy. And they love the fact that it's not super well organized, so they can
save the day,
keep saving things and making, and which is by the way, I really understand how that works, and I've been there myself, and it is a good feeling to be able to solve everything, and it's just exhausting and at some point draining. So because you say I've been there myself, so where is the line? Because I mean, indeed, it has good. You develop tremendous skills by wanting to be the hero and saving the day. But so where do you see the line? As in now you're actually just using your skills to the fullest, and now it's self-sabotage. Like, how do you distinguish? I think it's unrealistic to expect that everything is just high positive energy. So every day, every week, every month, every year is always a balance between things that give you energy, things that require energy. And at some point, gut feeling wise, you can actually say, okay, what's the net result here? So
do I receive more energy from my work, or do I actually have to give, and at the end I just feel empty?
Do you need to give too much and receive too little? Then you're in a negative pattern. There are cues to see if the negative pattern is happening. Like, so, literally, being tired, being more negative, less excited, health. Literally, like, are they healthy? Are they feeling well? Are they working out or not? Are they complaining more?
Complaining, that's a big one.
Complaining more. And of course, we all love to complain a little bit, but like, now if I walk in somewhere, if I just start working together, it takes me a while to get to know the people, right? But if you get to know them a little bit, and then sudden shifts are happening, like, and you start hearing and saying yourself things like, yeah, this person used to be so excited, but now it's all, or they used to be the first ones to know. So they used to be this, and now it's different. So it switches really. It flips around. Like, that's a really heavy cue for me. Like, okay, something's going on here. Something's boiling here. And for everybody that's different, because everybody has their character. But if I hear people say those kind of words, like, it used to be the opposites, behavior-wise, and there's a lot of complaining and health and that kind of stuff. Then probably the turning point is either very close by, or at least we need to start having some serious conversations. That's at least what I'm trying to do. All because of, it's just not sustainable if a founder is taking up too much pressure, tries to solve everything, or tries to keep doing their best more and more and more, and then at some point, it's literally not durable. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting word that I like to use. Like, okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. But if the energy pattern is negative, that's not durable. If it's a little negative, okay, we can fix it. But if it becomes more and more negative, then it's really, let's say the turning point will at some point, just present itself.
Something I notice in that is typically people and I wonder if you notice that as well. For me, if I'm talking to people about their business and I notice that my energy is dropping as well by listening to them, I also know that something's up, because talking to people that are not using their full potential, or that are really stuck in self-sabotage without knowing it, they drain energy for them, but in the interaction, it also creates this draining aspect that afterwards, I'm so tired. I feel, wow, I'm so tired from this conversation because there was so much taking energy. Do you recognize that in your interactions sometimes?
Not in the same way, but for instance, we mentioned complaining. So when they get stuck in the complaint loop and not in the problem-solving loop, that's a big cue for me. And that's, of course, energy draining for me as well, because I love to just solve things with them. Instead of always if I hear the same complaints over and over again, I have the feeling we're walking in circles, or but we're not doing anything. And that's what triggers me as a person, and really hands-on as well. Not doing anything about something that's important and can be tackled is really, like, for me, I'm out of here.
That's where you don't feel useful anymore. And think,
come on, I'm not here just to complain. Let's do stuff. But for another cue also is distraction. Like, if they're not capable to focus either in a 15-minute conversation or zooming out, what do we want to do this year? And they're always, then for me, it's also a cue, like, okay, why are you distracted? Or stress, scared, anxiety. Those are often triggers, like social media, like, it's a good news show and we're struggling, I'm a loser, and we're not going as fast as the others, and they're like, this gives a lot of distraction. And they might not complain about it, but it's there. And I try to call it out if I see it, and I share my personal struggles with them as well, and say, okay, what's happening here? How do you feel? I try to open up a little bit and just see where we end up. I'm not a psychologist. I just understand how it works and how heavy it can be going through that kind of journey, and I see it as my job as a mentor to just talk about it, and then if necessary, guide them or connect them with the right people. But it's everybody understands the following cliche, like, okay, if you want to grow a business, no matter what business, can be any business, that's a huge endeavor. Like, yes, it will be challenging. Yes, it will be hard. It will be steep. It will be whatever. And that's hopefully also exciting.
Yeah.
Let's try and do it.
You need that excitement to go through the hurdles and to go through that steepness.
Cycling. You know that? I love cycling. So if you want to climb one of the most iconic mountains in the world, which is the Mont Ventoux, then like, whoa, let's try and climb the Mont Ventoux. But damn, this will be hard. It will be hot. You will sweat a lot. It will hurt. You need to train. And if you are not trained, it will hurt even more. But the view will be so awesome, and you will end up at the top, and you see yourself at the top, and you're standing there having this view, and you'll take a selfie at the top, and everybody does it, but the selfie sucks, and you're all exploded in your head, like literally, like you tomato face,
sweat everywhere.
Yeah, but if you reach the top, you can reach the top in two ways. You can reach the top. You will be exhausted at the top. I can guarantee you. So you reach the top in two ways. You're exhausted and you're proud, or you're exhausted and you want to throw your bike off the mountain. The thing is, the mountain is an interesting metaphor. And if someone says, I want to climb the Mont Ventoux, we have this idea of what it could be like.
Yeah.
But if you say, I'm going to build a business, it's a black box.
Yeah.
You have no clue what's happening. So,
you often underestimate. I think people that haven't done it, they underestimate maybe what it means.
It's just really difficult to estimate it because, what business? Yeah. What mountain? Who's been there before? Are there playbooks? No. Is there someone who can say, hey, I've done this 100 times? Exactly. This is how you best do it. No. So if you're not training and learning on the go, it will be like, then you have no control of what will happen, and it will be really difficult to reach the top. Yeah. So you need to learn to take step-by-step approaches and grow as a person as well, which is interesting, a bit scary at the same time. But if you do not invest in figuring things out along the way proactively, and you just respond or react to whatever's happening, this is where those who succeed often made the difference, but they didn't realize it at the moment. It's just how they are. They're proactive. They're learning. And they keep on improving. And then they look back and they say, "Oh, that was a good move there." Because 2 years later, this happened, and we were ready, or we were trying to be proactive. The really difficult thing about a service business and a project business is that, from an operational point of view, so much time goes to customers and colleagues, and there's so little time to work on yourself and on the company. The business model requires a lot of billable time.
Yes.
Because otherwise you just fall off the bike.
Yeah, indeed.
So you're just happy that you're cycling, and then it's Friday and weekend, okay, and next week we go again. But there's
no more resource for water and for energy
bars. Time. That's one of my biggest frustration with this business model, is that it allows us so little time to work on the company, and with this little amount of time, we need to learn as fast as possible. And that's what most people underestimate.
And so in terms of, because with all the struggles and with whatever everything you've mentioned, is then that one of the tips you would give to these first-time founders to really invest or to build in time for that proactive learning? Or how could they do that? What do you see that works?
So what we cannot change is that the business model of an agency or a service business is heavy on the operational side and on being billable, and there will be a lot of time going to customers. Okay, so blocking time structurally is one of the key tips that I give to founders. Like, your job is not only to deliver projects and hire people and do some sales even, but it's also to zoom out a little bit and say, okay, being proactive.
Yeah.
It starts with reserving time to be proactive and accept that it costs you, on the short term, it's less revenue. Or less micromanagement and saving things along the way. And you don't need to spend time every week zooming out and working on the company, but you need to find a structural rhythm. So one of the key things in a project business that you can do is after every project, you can do some sort of reflection. In Scrum or Agile methodologies. It's a solid fundamental, like, okay, what have we learned doing this project? What can we do better next time? So implementing like structural incremental feedback loops, learning loops is really powerful in a service business to speed up more and have everybody involved in defining better ways of working together. So you don't need to dive in every time, and it becomes a bit more of an autonomous operation.
Yeah.
So step one, how can you make it a bit more autonomous?
And ingrained.
Reserve some time to think about this structurally together. That's often a huge first step. And then you can reserve more and more time as a founder to do what you want to do. Some want to go more into marketing and sales. Some want to go more into organizing things and hire someone to help with sales and business development, whatever. Then you can shape your own role.
Yeah.
And you can escape the operational day to day.
After a while, I assume that's not from the start.
Yeah. No, of course, if you're with 5 or 10 people, but once you're with 15, 20, 25 people, you need someone who can zoom out a little bit. And often one of the founders really loves to do it, but they cannot escape the operational day to day. So the issue is not really that they don't want to work on the company and most really would love more time, but they have not learned to reserve time structurally to make it more autonomous so they can escape it. Yeah. They just do more projects, more people, more. But the way things work don't change too much.
So they will bump into their limits
and then
until they're forced to
and they're forced into, okay, how can we reshape this? How can I escape this a bit more? And also, no founder starts an agency like, oh, I want to escape the day-to-day. No, remember, they start because they love the work. Yeah. And they want to do more of the work. So, of course, they're so happy doing more of the same work with more people at the same, and then someone like me comes in and says, "Oh, yeah, you need to escape this. It's not healthy in the long term." No, it doesn't work like that. So they're of course happy with the progress they made, and then at some point they need to professionalize the operational setup, and most already are aware of the fact that it would be good to escape it a bit more, but it's really normal that you're just full locked in the early days, like growing an agency. You just need to be there, and sometimes I see people zooming out too much. Yeah, that
they don't have connection
and I'm
with.
Like, oh yeah, but you're
you're fully gone.
Yeah, this is now. You just need to get it done.
Yeah,
get clients, deliver quality, hire people, do it again, grow a little bit, make a bit more profit, make a bit more structural profit, invest a bit more in your own growth as a company, as a person, and step by step, zoom out a little bit. Right. But so learning, altogether, really important.
Yeah.
And of course, I think maybe a bit silly to say, but this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So learning how to build a service business should be a high priority.
Yeah.
And yes, it's difficult to find proper content or proper business coaches. This is why I'm here. You don't have to work with me, but if you're listening, there's content that I'm publishing on LinkedIn. There, you can work with people like me, but try and speed up the learning curve by working with people who've been there.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me, who have been there.
Who have been there.
I was looking for business coaches too when I was growing my agency,
Mm-hmm.
and they had really expensive hourly rates, nice presentations and decks, nice quotes, inspirational, motivational, but it wasn't pragmatic at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, yeah, and now what? I think this is why business coaching has this like, if you want to get an eye roll somewhere, just say you're a business coach, and people are like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, same with the performance coach.
So what most people is just they're in their agency cocoon trying to figure it out by themselves, and if they can speed up the learning, that's already an advantage. Okay, but some try to look a bit on the outside too. Okay, who's here? Who can we work with that knows how things work? And they set up an advisory board, for instance.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, okay, you get together like 3-4 times a year. That's not fast enough.
Mm-hmm. There's probably phases in the agency where this is sufficient, but maybe it's not.
Well, it can always be relevant if you see your advisory board as let's say a neutral board that can challenge your thinking. Like, this is where we are right now. Okay, why do you think you're there right now? Tell me.
Okay.
And where do you want to go? And what's the future? And so they can challenge your thinking on both reflection and future. But it's not intense or frequent enough to help you solve things.
Yeah.
And they most have their own experience as an entrepreneur, but they don't have the tools to help you really be pragmatic. So I will always look for education and coaching to just speed up your learning curve on the business model side.
Mm-hmm.
And the better you understand what's happening, the easier it gets to know what to do.
Yeah.
You're not doubting, you're not questioning. And the thing is, you need to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't also work to hire someone like, here's the manager. He or she will do everything. Like, if you're growing to 5, 10, 20, 50 people, you're still heavily involved as a founder. Just hiring someone to delegate stuff sounds really good,
but it won't work.
But of course, it's not a ticket to all the problems are gone.
Mm-hmm.
You will be involved, even if you sell your agency.
Yeah.
So we often see agencies, okay, agency X sold. Okay, great. What typically happens is they join a bigger group,
mm-hmm.
Or someone takes over, and then it's a year or two staying on board,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
helping it integrate, and I think that's just how it works in this kind of business. You're really involved as a person, and it's difficult to just
outsource that.
It, or just, even if you want to just step out, like, okay, no,
mm-hmm.
that's not how it works. You need to work towards a more autonomous team and more flexibility to choose what you want to do, or even at some point set a step aside.
Yeah. All right, good. So you say learning is a big tip. One thing I want to add to that is that a lot of people, they can have all the knowledge. You probably have encountered that as well. They know exactly what to do, but they don't do it. That's something I think as well that you come across with a lot. So if that is the case, and you just notice that you keep bumping into the same patterns and you keep knowing what to do, but you don't do it, I think that's also the moment to go and have a look at these patterns themselves, rather than buying more books, getting more mentoring, getting more coaching, because typically then knowledge is not the problem. There's something else at play. Yeah. So I want to add to that.
For fun, but don't do anything with it, like that kind of behavior.
It's so common. And it's not necessarily reading a book for fun, but it's like reading a book for your consciousness, so that you can tell yourself that you're reading into it, that you're working on it, but actually you're not doing it. But by just having that other intellectual stimulation, you kind of fool yourself that you are working on it. So that's something that I notice a lot with people, with ambitious people, that bump into their own limits, and that in that way keep themselves from using all the knowledge that is there and that they have at their hands and in their head. So I want to add that to the tips.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, familiar.
I've been there myself. I see others struggle with it as well, or even not struggling with it, but behaving a bit like that. And so one of the things I've learned, one of the key things I've learned about myself while I was running an agency, that was a learning that came afterwards. So I sold my shares, took a break, reflected on what happened actually.
Yeah.
And what happened with me as well along the way.
Yeah.
And what I realized is that I was this ambitious guy who wanted to deliver really international quality. Like, we were aiming for awards, and we had a high bar, and we were excited about it, and we managed to win awards, and we were internationally recognized, and all great. But what actually was happening, and I didn't realize it back then, was that I started every project with the ambition we're going to make this app for this company. We're going to make the best app in the world. And it's not that's just not a realistic point of view. Sometimes there are barriers and limitations, and it's budget or people or whatever. So, but it's really exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to always aim for this is going to be the best app, and then never reach it.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I started coaching agencies, I said to myself, okay, Thomas, no, don't make the mistake. The goal is not to help everybody build the best agency in their niche. The job is to help them make progress faster with less shit.
Yeah.
And we'll see from there.
Indeed.
And everybody has their limitations. Not everybody is a Cristiano Ronaldo kind of soccer player. Yeah, some will have difficulties with discipline, for instance, or some will have difficulties with responsibility and making decisions. And everybody grows in their own terms and frequency and rhythm, and we'll see. But my mindset is never, let's try to be the best, and otherwise
it's not good
we're
enough.
Failed.
Yeah. Well, what I like in that is that your frame of reference shifts from an external frame of reference. So seeing, okay, what today is now the best, what does it mean to be the best? You put it externally. Whereas if you say, we're going to be better, we're going to be more irresistible, and we're going to become more efficient, that your frame of reference actually is yourself. So that progress is much more realistic, concrete, and indeed all progress is that you can recognize it because you can measure it towards something specific. Yeah,
and it's also really inspiring to look back on. We were here, now we're here. We want to go there. Okay, and I also worked with people who decided to stop with their agency, and to do something else because it's not working out for me, or and that's a celebration too. But if you've made some steps, or you made some progress, and then you see, okay, things that are coming my way, it's really overwhelming, and you're not excited to climb the Mont Ventoux, and please stop trying to climb the Mont Ventoux. Like, okay, then we're going to do something else. If you don't know what you're actually doing because it's a black box and nobody can tell you exactly, of course, that's just the reality. So let's set a few steps, see from there again. If it turns out to be interesting, continue. Keep making progress. That's interesting. And I always talk about growth, and that's how I market it. And people love growth. And that's, of course, what attracts interest. But often people ask me, growth, what is growth? And I say, for me, it's just another word for making progress. Yeah. And it's not just more revenue or more profits, but it's making progress, having an impact. And one of the exercises I love doing most is it's called the barbecue celebration. It's a visualization technique. What does success look like from here within a year? Like if we're having a team barbecue next year, so we're here now, within a year, team barbecue, what are we celebrating? Yeah. And I ask them to literally write their speech you're going to raise the glass and you're going to say something. What are you going to say?
Yeah.
And why are you going to say it then? Who's there? And why is everybody happy?
Yeah. It makes it much more concrete.
Why is everybody excited?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah. And more revenue. Great. You're not, hey, more revenue. No, what's happening with the revenue? Do we have more profit? Can we invest in something? Can we do something that we couldn't before? Are we acknowledged? Are we more proud?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Do people have more holidays?
Yeah.
Because you're more profitable. Whatever you want.
Yeah, it's good.
But just tell me what it is that you actually want to celebrate. And it's always inspiring for me to see them first struggle with the exercise. Like, oh, yeah, good question. And then they come up with these, often pretty general celebrations. And I'm like, and then the role-playing game comes in. And I'm like, if I was your colleague and that's your celebration on the team barbecue, I would like,
boring.
Good for you. But how about this? And then I try to challenge them a little bit, and then growth is all about let's make progress, let's make the celebration happen, and then see from there again. And that's really, for some, it's often liberating.
Yeah, it's an eye opening. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I don't need to. It's the external mirror, like what you mentioned. That's nice to see that we can tackle it.
And so for you, because. So this is something you used to do. So we're coming to the last questions of the episode. So where I always ask, 10 years ago, what did you do that you don't actually do anymore? That's what you mentioned. So how did you change that frame? Like, what clicked for you in order to change that frame of reference and to look at it from this way rather than from how you used to look at it?
Good question. So at some points, I realized I'm doing my best, do my best a little bit more, working harder. It's not solving anything. Mm-hmm. This is not working. This is not fun.
This is not fun.
This is not smart. One of the triggers for me that changed was I was forced to do things a bit differently in two ways. So first, health, like really not feeling well, and then a doctor comes in, and one of the best. So I got the best advice I got was from a doctor, and I was telling him about health issues, not serious, but just annoying. He said, "Are you an entrepreneur?" I said, "Yes." Okay. "Oh yeah. And do you want to do things really like good?" I said, "Yeah, of course." "Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're always striving for the best result." Yeah, sure. Okay. And he said, like, and so does it always go smoothly? Oh, no, of course not. Okay. And who do you talk to? He said. And I was like, what do you mean? Who do I talk to? Yeah. Who do you talk to about these things? Your friends? I was like, no, they don't understand what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly. So family? No. Your wife? No. He says, here's what I'm going to say. He made a prescription, or he said, this is what I want you to do. Go to bars more often and talk about everything that's happening. Even though you think they don't understand, people will you ventilate. So this is still until today a running gag between me and my wife. Like, I need to go to the bar.
All right.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah,
don't lock yourself up in your own head.
Yeah.
In your own fake social media cocoon of good news, shizzle and whatever. So go out. Drinks, talk to people. Even a podcast. Go out, talk to Eva about it. good, great, well, and move on. But that's something that I keep doing ever since, and it's the best advice.
It's the best advice.
Right? So nobody can say, "Oh no, that's a bad idea." No, it's doctor's orders. So I'm blessed with that kind of feedback. And another thing that was forced upon me was at some point so we were a company. We were part of a bigger group of agencies, a really huge group, actually, the Kronos Group. And we had the opportunity to work with a very talented project manager who was available to help us out. And I was like, okay, great, but I don't really have that much time to guide this person. But they said, no, leave him. And I was like, okay, so this was really inspiring for me to see someone hopping on. I leave him. Leave him. And he had so much impact on the company, and he did things differently. He's the one that took over from me years later. He's still running the agency. It's a fantastic guy. And it was so inspiring for me to see, like, oh, sometimes you just need to move aside. Sometimes you just need to say, sometimes doing nothing is exactly
what you need to do.
And I was like,
learn to let go, do nothing, trust the process.
And for some silly reason, that was never a scenario or an option in my mind. Like, it's always do something. Yeah. Do something.
Because that's not what you do. That's what you knew how to do it best. And
sometimes it's like, just do nothing. Like, it's not up to you. Maybe it's not your
fight, your battle to fight. Yeah.
And those two things were a bit like forced upon me to see things a bit differently, to go out more, talk more, and then, but also to just, at least consider the option. Maybe I should do nothing, me, myself. And, even until today, that helps. And so if you're thinking about celebrations, for instance, and how does success look like, it's way more easier to think like this. It helps me to consider all options and to just say, okay, I want to be in a scenario where I say something like, oh, great. But that doesn't mean I have to do it.
Yes.
It doesn't have, we can probably reach that situation in many ways. And I can start going to the bar and talk people about, what if we would celebrate this within a year? What would happen?
Yeah.
And I can move aside and let people say, hey, this, no. And even in an individual coaching business, it works like that. Like, okay, and then you can start talking to your friends and family and everybody. And everybody has opinions and feedback. And then you need to filter it, of course. And that's also a learning curve. Make up your own mind. But then at least you consider all sorts of options. You get a lot of inspiration from people. And then you can move forward. And that's for me, the most exciting thing about building a business is this dynamic of visualizing a better situation and then figure out what the best ways to get there, get things moving,
and then
without losing yourself along the way.
All right, good. Well, thank you so much. That's indeed, I think, the essence of then building your agency, and I think the people listening in, they know, or 100% sure that they can come to you if they have any questions or if they need to have some tools or frameworks on your website. I use them a lot. So thank you for sharing them, and also for sharing them freely, because not a lot of people like you actually do it. So you can already taste your value in terms of tools and pragmatic resources by following you and subscribing to your newsletter. So thank you for that. And the gift that you give to all agency founders and also people just running their own business, even if it's not an agency. So thank you so much.
Nice, Eva. Thanks for the nice words. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy you invited me.
Yeah, and it's so many learnings. So people are gonna enjoy it. So if you're an agency founder or someone that's building your own business and you heard things that are valuable for you or valuable for someone else that could benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them, and together we create a world where people wake up and dare to be great. See you next time. Ciao.